Hello and welcome back to the Stress Mastery Podcast. I am your host, Peggy Romero. Happy Saturday. I thank you for joining me today. So this week we've been talking about resistance. We had some really good podcasts. I love all of them this week. They were great. So wow, we all know about resistance, don't we? Here at Stress Mastery, we know that resistance comes from the ego and all those programs that we carry. And it has several forms: physical, emotional, social, intellectual, and spiritual. We experience resistance constantly. I mean, sometimes even 2 or 3 or more of them at the same time, because the ego is tricky. We all know that. Our programming is set so deep within us that we don't even realize what we're experiencing sometimes, or like what we're thinking, or that we're feeling a certain emotion. We don't realize that we are resisting moving forward, or resisting the betterment of our life, or resisting letting go of an old program so that we can reprogram ourselves into something that suits us better for this life that we want to live. So once again, awareness is always the key, right? We need to notice the ego all day long, every day. We're all programmed in stasis, meaning we're designed not to change. So we're set in stage 3, socialized mind, at the age of 16, and we're designed to live out our life the very way that we're thinking at the time, the way that those programs are set with those thoughts and with those reactions and emotions that we have. You have to decide for yourself to self-author your life, which then would lead you to the next stage of development. And like I said, resistance comes in many shapes and sizes, so it's not always easy. One thing that I've had to struggle with in the past few years a lot, well, maybe not even the past few years, maybe my whole life, social resistance. Especially lately, I think because now I'm over 60 years old and I didn't start out purposely in personal or spiritual development until I was 57 or 58 years old. So I've known these same people forever, my brothers and sisters. I have a group of friends that I met when I was 18. I have some other friends that I met when I started a new church in my young 30s, maybe 35 years old. So I've known these guys for decades. Even though my whole life I was living as my ego completely in the red zone, they liked me. They liked me that way. They knew me that way. But now that they know the real Peggy, they don't always like the way she is. I don't live from my ego anymore. I intentionally self-authored my life. And they don't care for the way that I am now, which makes it kind of tough for me sometimes. I mean, just a couple little examples of things that I have noticed and that I know for sure. I don't engage in gossiping anymore like I used to. Well, I can't say never, but because sometimes I find myself, like I'll catch myself in the middle and stop. I don't want to do that anymore. Maybe this gives them less to talk to me about. I mean, I'm not really sure. And I don't even know if that's a thing. I just know that for me, I don't do that anymore. I don't want to talk about any of that stuff anymore. It doesn't serve me. It's just not who I am. Besides, we all know that if they're talking to you about someone, they're also talking to someone about you. So I decided to hop out of the pot instead of stirring it anymore. I'm just out. So I think that kind of ruffles a few feathers for people. Another thing is, I used to only sleep for 5 or 6 hours a night. And I didn't eat healthy at all, which of course helped me in gaining 80 pounds in 15 years once I stopped my physical labor job. So when you only sleep 5 or 6 hours, I could tell you something. You're up later than everybody else and you get up before anybody else. So you're game for anything. I mean, that's just how it is. You have all this time. You can get all your important stuff done. You can work, clean your house, talk to your friends, do all your things, and still have hours to go in the day. Well, once you change that, it's not so anymore, at least not for me. I made sleep a priority a few years ago because I made health a priority. So I have to say, no, I'm sorry I can't go out to dinner with you guys at 6 o'clock. And I can't meet you for drinks at 8 o'clock. I can't get home at 11 or 12 o'clock at night. That doesn't work for me and my new life, the life that I've chosen to have. It doesn't suit my new identity. It's just not who I am. So you know what that means? Lots of times I don't get invited at all. So yeah, it stinks. And especially now because I'm single. So if I don't go do something with anybody in the evening after working by myself alone all day, then I'm home again alone at night. But it's okay. I actually like me. But my ego wants to talk me into, oh, you can get more sleep tomorrow. Stop saying no. Go out with your friends. Why are you alienating yourself? But Peggy, me, when I'm connected to my heart, connected to my goals, connected to my purpose, goes to bed early. I like going to bed early because I know that I'm going to wake up between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. no matter what time I go to bed the night before. It's just who I am. And now that I use the Aura Ring, I know the quality of sleep that I get. I know what my HRV turns to if I have a drink. I mean, just one drink, or if I eat late at night, or if I stay up too late and get up too early. I know exactly how much sleep I got the night before. I understand my recovery and my recuperation. And here's the good thing. I have met people at the gym that go to the gym really early. You know, the same people go to the gym every day at the same time, right? So when I get up early, finish my Green Focus Power Hour, and go to the gym at 6 o'clock, I see the same people. After some time goes by, you begin to realize that you're starting to become part of that tribe. So while your other friends maybe just went to bed 4 hours before you got up, and they're out eating late and eating whatever they want, you'll find new friends that will eat healthy, go to bed early, and like to get up in the morning and go work out. So that's worked out really good for me. But it is tough because I have so much less connection with these friends that I've had for so long. I had to work through it. So one thing I know for sure, every time you try to make a change, you're going to experience some kind of resistance. It doesn't matter what you're trying to change. It's going to happen. So you make a new workout routine and you're tired. You try to start on a new diet and you're just so hungry all of a sudden. Or a million people invite you out to dinner. Or you decide to go to bed early and a bunch of fun stuff starts happening at night. You want to look for a new job and suddenly you'll start noticing all these horror stories of people who decided to leave their job, that the new one didn't work out. You want to work on writing your book. I promise every day for an hour. And suddenly you have writer's block and can't think about anything to write. Seriously, you guys, just know it's always going to happen. It's always going to be something. So we procrastinate and we put things off all the time. That's just resistance, fear of change. So I'm a big fan of taking just small little steps. And the reason is because one successful step has always helped me because it gives me the confidence to take another step. Instead of trying a million new things, just try one little thing because getting a little confidence is amazing. I love that. So I've been gone from Iowa for 6 weeks. I went on vacation and I had a really nice time. And the exercises that I were doing were these bands and then just making sure that I walked a lot. I wasn't going to the gym or anything like I do when I'm here and when I'm in Arizona. So I totally got off my game. Before I left, I was going to this body pump class that I loved. It's a weightlifting thing, 3 days a week. And then I have a class called Fit for Life, 3 days a week. And a bar class. It's like a mix of yoga and ballerina stuff, all these different things. There's weights and everything, and it's really cool. I love it. But my favorite class was the body pump. I mean, I feel like a bodybuilder when I do it. So it's so cool. They play this really loud, lively music. It's great. And everybody there is like having fun. And you have, the long bars that you use for weights, like Bill and David do the weightlifter bars. And then you do set after set after set. I know some of them are called deadlifts, and then we do these overhead lift things. And I don't know the names of anything. I just watch and I do it. And I keep up. And I love it because I feel so strong. I'm so proud of myself because I started something new like this after being a person that never went to the gym in my life. I mean, I never lifted weights before, ever. And just being in these classes with a bunch of 20, 30, and maybe 40-year-olds makes me feel really happy. It reiterates, I am strong. So I'm in this class. And I say that I like the class, but really, as a matter of fact, I love the class. But did you ever hear me say it was easy? No, you didn't, because it's not easy, but it is really fun. So I go on vacation. I'm gone 6 weeks. I haven't done the class. So I get back, and the first time I'm getting ready to go, I have to go, you have to sign up for it and let them know that you're coming. So I get in my class. I make my reservations for the next 2 months that I'm going to be here. And I was so nervous. I could feel the resistance. I was surprised, but my ego kept telling me oh, you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to keep up. I mean, she's telling me, oh, you better just do the other class for a week and then get back into the body pump class. I mean, you know that class is a big challenge and you shouldn't try to hop back into it already. What if you drop the weights? What if you tip over holding the weights and hurt someone? What if you make a complete fool of yourself? So yeah, it's a really crowded class, and I do believe I'm the oldest person there by at least 10 years, but instead of allowing my ego, the resistance, to stop me from going, I went. I told myself, okay, Peggy, just, use less weight than you usually do. But here's the problem. I don't remember how much weight I was using because I haven't got that part, really down yet. I mean, it's all new to me. So what I decided to use was just get a bunch of different plates so that I put them in my area so I could add or remove them if necessary. And I started with low weight. I think I only had like 8 pounds on each side or something. So I'm looking around to check to see that nobody else has, more than me or no, less than me, because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't overdoing it. So I wanted to make sure I was in line. And I knew that before I left, I was using more weight than a lot of people. So I just wanted to make sure that I was under weight and not over so that I didn't strain my body. So I get to the first class and ta-da, no problem. I got it. This is my jam. I'm a weightlifter girl. And to think I could have let my ego talk me out of going. And so it is with everything, you guys. We have to stay on our game. This is why I say all the time, Green Focus Power Hour is so important. All 6 steps, vitally important. I'm not sure how the rest of you guys do it, but for me, I can use this time to visualize anything I want. I can use this time for any affirmation that I choose. Anything. I'm strong. I love the body pump class. I easily keep up with the class. I hold my bar tight. I can see myself pumping iron. Well, I'm not sure if that's pumping iron, but I think it is. Actually, I picture myself with the long bar and all those weights, lifting it up and down, smiling and having fun. I imagine myself with a huge smile on my face, keeping up with the class. So when I hear my ego telling me, you better not go to the body pump class tomorrow, you should just cancel and start next week, it's easier for me to counteract the resistance because I see my ego and I know what it is. And when I visualize myself taking the class and enjoying it so much, it goes against my programming to quit and to not go. So I can use the let go technique to remove the programs that I'm not good enough, or that I'm too old, or that I'm not strong. It doesn't matter what it is. Too young, too old, whatever. The ego never shuts up. We all know that. So I just want to remind you how important it is. Visualize yourself. Those affirmations and visualizations become you. And then it helps you be more aware of what thoughts you're having. It's so important to let go of the thoughts that don't serve you. Sorry about the car driving by. And that you can always do this by using your let go technique. You can do this by setting your day every single day. It's so important. Resistance is going to come. And just like the way we say over and over in Stress Mastery, stress is going to come and we can't stop it, but we can master it. And that's the same with resistance. If you're aware of it, it's much easier to take care of. We can learn to release the programs that don't serve us. So I have this amazing program in my mind. I was raised with it because we were all really healthy when we were young. I don't get sick. I'm muscular and strong. I come from a family that doesn't get sick, and I have a great immune system. This is programming that serves me very well. And it's true. So after all these years of never having anything wrong with me, during COVID in 2020, I got diverticulitis. And boy, was I sick. I was hospitalized for 30 days. I was in the hospital for a week with no food or drink, not even water, not even an IV to give you liquids. It's called 100% bowel rest. So then after the week, then I got to have water again and like ice chips and broth and Jell-O, and that was it. So after 2 weeks, like they can't let you keep doing that. So they thought that I was getting better and they sent me home. But after, I think it was the 3rd day, I got a really high fever and it started hurting. And so I got put back in the hospital. I went there to, go get checked out. They ended up putting me back in the hospital. And then I did that same stuff again for another week, bowel rest. And then suddenly it took a turn for the worse. So a surgeon comes in one night and he says, my name's, whatever, doctor. And you're going to have an emergency surgery tomorrow and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to be first thing in the morning, and I just have to let you know that you have a 35% chance of not waking up after the surgery. Wow, I was really surprised because this doesn't go with my programming at all. I mean, I'm healthy and strong. What the heck? Looking back on it, I'm even more surprised of how calm I was and how well I took the news. But they told me that I was going to have a colostomy bag. They said I would have it for 6 months and possibly for the rest of my life. Well, this just can't be. I mean, this really is not going to fit my lifestyle, so that can't happen. So I asked him a million questions about the colostomy bag. I mean, that was my concern. And he answered them all and told me he'd see me in the morning. So that, afternoon, evening, whatever, I called all my kids. I didn't scare them, but I told them I had to have a surgery and, that I wasn't getting any better. I called my best friend. I can't remember if I texted Bill and told him I had it or not, but I said my prayers and I got a good night's sleep. So the next morning, my surgery is supposed to be first thing, and here comes the surgeon again. So he says, are you all ready for the surgery? Yep. Do you have your affairs in order? Yeah, I do. Why? Well, did you understand what I told you? Did you hear the part where you only have a 65% chance of living through the surgery? Oh, yeah, I told him I did understand. I asked him, why? Like, have things gotten worse since yesterday? Why did you come back in here? I'm not really sure why you're in here telling me this. I'm perfectly calm right now. I'm supposed to be going in 20 minutes. I mean, did something happen? And he said, no, I've never seen anybody take this kind of news so well. I mean, you're so calm even after me giving you those odds. And I come in this morning and you're just here ready to go to surgery with a smile on your face. I mean, it's my responsibility to make sure that you understand what's happening. Oh, I do. And I'm just sure I'm not going to die. But if I do die, I'll fall asleep and wake up in heaven. And that's kind of okay with me. I mean, I could never ask for a better death than that. But I really don't think I'm going to die. And I also do not believe for a minute that I'm going to have a colostomy bag. And he said, oh, no, you're going to have a colostomy bag. And things would have to go, I can't remember what he said, like the incisions would have to be perfect and everything would have to be, just perfect. So just plan on the colostomy bag. I said, okay, well, just do your best. So when I went into the operating room, I had this really nice nurse. And we talked for a little bit and I just told her, I said, I bet you the first thing I'm going to hear when I wake up, or the first thing you're going to tell me when I wake up is, Peggy, you don't have a colostomy bag. And guess what? I'm not sure that it was the first words out of her mouth when she was trying to wake me up, but I promise you the first words that I heard her say when I came out of that surgery was, Peggy, you don't have a colostomy bag. You guys, I've told myself that I'm healthy, whole, strong so many times that I actually am. I am whole, perfect, power, and strong. I am loving, harmonious, and happy. I am healthy, and I live in peace. I don't know how many thousands of times I've told that to myself, but it's literally thousands. And I don't just say it. I know it. I am. I am. So that was 2020. So in 2021, I get permission to be working out fully again and everything. And Felix, wonderful Felix, came out and taught me how to do exercises for the first time in my life at the gym. So thank you, Felix. And I start working out. So next thing you know, I get an incisional hernia. And it was gigantic, probably because my stinking incision, I think it was 12 or 14 inches long. I don't remember, but rats, I had to get another surgery. Okay, so this one went fine. It wasn't life-shaking or anything. So I have this nasty, gnarly scar from these two surgeries. So I'm like, I want to get plastic surgery. I can't stand this. I want to get everything cleaned up. So I go to a surgeon and I tell him about this hernia mesh and the diverticulitis and all this stuff. And he orders a scan. This was last July in 2022. So it comes to the time for my surgery and he comes in and says, I can't give you the surgery because you have a very big problem. Oh, I do? Yeah, you have a really large tumor. It goes from your upper thigh clear across your pelvis and it's huge. So I asked him, okay, well, could you refer me to a surgeon so I can get it removed? And he said, oh no, it's more than that. You need to go oncologist. I'm sure you have cancer. Oh, Did you do a biopsy? No, I can't tell you with 100% certainty that it's cancer, but it looks like cancer, it's acting like cancer, and growing like cancer. Like, you need to go to a specialist. You need the Mayo Clinic or the Cleveland Clinic or somewhere. You're not going to find anybody in, middle America in Iowa. You got to go to a major metropolis. I'm like, yikes. So, 3 summers in a row. What the heck? So I'm in Iowa where they don't have anyone to help me. So I go back to Portland where they have lots of doctors, and I call my insurance and I get this whole list and I check with my insurance and I find a surgical oncologist. I send them the scans. I get an appointment. And then right before the appointment, they call me back. I'm sorry, the doctor won't be able to see you because this is far beyond the scope of his practice. Okay, so I call the next doctors in a row and I tell them what happened with the first one. And I ask him, can I make an appointment and can you have the doctor look at it sooner than later so that I don't have to, wait too long to find out. But then I get the same call all 3 times. I went through all 4 and the 4th nurse calls me and tells me the same thing. This is beyond the scope of his practice. You need a specialist. So now I start crying because I don't have anybody else on my insurance list. I don't even know who else to call. So I do have a brave friend, remember, and I do have a great health program. I am healthy and strong, and I know I can survive this, but I need a surgeon. I mean, I get it. Somebody has to remove this. So I asked this nice lady, can you please help me? I don't know who to call. I don't have anybody else. You were the 4th person who's told me no. I don't know what to do now. And so kindly, she took the time and she found someone for me, and she got back either later that day or the next day and told me, Michelle Babicki, she's the person that you go to. This is the go-to surgeon for tricky tumors. People come from all over the country to go to her. So, okay, cool. So I get all her information. I get an appointment. I send her all these scans that I have. And I get on her schedule. And she orders a few more tests, and I have to wait a couple weeks for the surgery. So she tells me, I never tell people that it's cancer until the biopsy comes back, but we have to make a plan. So let's just say it's cancer. So again, it makes me feel like somebody's telling me I have cancer, right? It does look like cancer and it does act like cancer, but we don't know for sure that it's cancer. But it's taking up every bit of space in your pelvis. It's sitting on the pelvic floor. It's pressed up against your bowels. It's touching your bladder. It's growing between your nerves and the muscles in your legs. And I'm going to be honest with you and tell you that you may have some incidental damage. And many tumors are very sticky, so you have to be prepared with multiple surgeries to follow. Okay, I got it. And she says, yeah, it's going to be a miracle if I can get this out all in one piece, because it's literally bored itself into every nook and cranny. So, okay, so she's showing this to me on this big screen in her office. And I could clearly see it was taking up like a lot of space. And when she pointed it out, what was the tumor and what was everything else, my friend who was with me just gasps and immediately starts crying or tearing up anyways. So as she prepared me, she didn't go into the gory details because I think that she just knew I already had a lot to deal with. And we really didn't know for sure what it was going to be. But you know what I did while I waited for surgery? I decided to pay attention to my ego. I decided not to let the resistance take hold of me. I decided not to live in fear. She couldn't believe that it didn't hurt. So it would have been so easy for me to give into physical resistance and start thinking, just deciding that my leg must hurt, right? That my pelvis area and my groin area must be hurting, so I shouldn't go for walks anymore. I shouldn't work out anymore. But instead, I paid attention to Lucy and the thoughts that she was trying to give me, those thoughts that tried to scare me. I decided to let them go and keep on with my life while I waited. So I kept working. I finished writing my book and editing my book and then published it right on time in September. I planned the Rise Up and Shift event. But perhaps the most important thing I decided to do while I waited was live my life on purpose. High energy, on vitality purpose. I could hear my ego trying to pull me down, of course, but I don't like the red zone, so I notice when I get there. I made a decision to stay positive. I made a decision to keep my peace. I changed my affirmations in my Green Focus Power Hour. I changed my visualizations. I changed what I did in my 8 technique every night before I went to bed. I changed what I wrote in my journal. My journal was so full of gratitude and gratefulness. I laid and listened to meditations every day and read a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Visualizing day in and day out that my tumor was not sticky, that it was contracting, that it was getting smaller every day, that it was pulling itself away from all my body parts. I could see that there was no incidental damage. It wasn't touching anything. Not that I know what it all looks like down there, but you get the picture. Well, I got the picture anyways. Then when the day came for the surgery, the tumor would slide right out. I visualized myself with full movement in my leg, with no muscle damage, with no nerve damage. And that's what I did every day while I waited. You see, the resistance came, the doubts came into my head. Of course they did. But I don't know, any other way but to think positively, because that's who I am. I want to believe the best. I'm not going to believe that, it's going to tear a hole in my bladder and all that kind of stuff. I put those things out of my mind when it came in. Thank you, God, that I'm whole, perfect, powerful, and strong. I am grateful that I have the best surgeon for this job. Thank you that the tumor is getting smaller and smaller and that it doesn't contain any cancer. Thank you that it comes out all in one piece. I am grateful that it slides right out. I pictured these golden orbs coming from the heavens and into my pelvis and shrinking this tumor, putting like a wall around it that was tough and not sticky. And guess what? When I got there on the day of the surgery and they're setting me up for blood transfusions and doing all these extra tests, I started getting nervous again because I knew that that wasn't normal. Not that I've had many surgeries, but I did have two, each 1 year before that. So I knew that it was kind of weird that the anesthesiologist was in the room with me while I was waiting for the doctor to come in, instead of meeting me in the operating room like they did the other 2 times I was there. But I soon figured out why. When Dr. Babicki came in, she told me that, this is, after looking at all of the scans, this is a little bit more serious than I thought, and I'm relatively confident that you still will be able to walk, but your side-to-side motion in your left leg will probably be no longer possible. And that you're going to have nerve damage for I don't know how long, because this is so entangled in your muscles and your nerves. I'm going to keep as much muscle as I can, but you're going to have a lot of rehab. And, you understand that you might not be able to walk again. I have to tell you that. And understanding that, you do understand that you absolutely have to have this surgery, correct? And I said, yes, I understand. And in 2 seconds, she knocked me out. I didn't have time to think about it or ask her any questions or wonder about my mobility or anything else. So I was set for a 7-hour surgery, and it took only 4 hours. And guess what? When she came in to see me, she said, Peggy, this surgery was a miracle. Everything turned out perfectly. It was all in one piece, and when I went to pick it up, it slid right out. Yep, those were her words, the same words that I chose to say to God. Amazing, isn't it? So speaking of resistance and the ego, of course the ego wanted me to be scared. Naturally, things popped in my head constantly. Things that the doctor says, you get scared that everything's going to go in a handbasket. But one thing that I know, it doesn't matter what the doctor says. It doesn't matter what anybody says or what anybody thinks. It only matters what God says. I'm very grateful that she didn't tell me that I would probably lose the mobility in my leg. That just knowing that I might not be able to walk again. I'm not positive that I could have held that state of being that I had for that time that I was waiting. I had a positive outlook the whole time, but I think the fear of not being able to walk might have been a little bit tougher for me. And here's the thing, you guys, that I think really helped me. I hardly told anybody about this. I told some people I'd had surgery, but I told my kids because they needed to know. I told my best friend because, of course, she talked me through it, and she was going to stay there with me while I had the surgery and then help me afterwards. I told Bill because I needed him to coach me through it. I might have told Felix because I talked to him a lot, but that's about it. I didn't need to talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to talk to people about it and, have all these people telling me that I'm unrealistic or you better listen to the doctor, or stop going to the gym, or you know what I mean, just scaring me, all the things that people say. I didn't need the negative energy. I needed my high positive energy. That's who I am. I needed to keep myself in check and not allow myself to go down the rabbit hole of fear and doubt. And all's well that ends well, right? She told me after the surgery that she could only find 2 successful case studies for this kind of tumor, and shared how up until not too long ago, I think maybe 2010, I don't remember what she said, they either cracked your pelvis open to get to this tumor or they amputated your leg. Only 2 successful case studies. And guess who's number 3? Yay! So I do feel that my left leg has lost some of its muscle. So I noticed that I have to work harder with that. It doesn't always feel exactly the same, and it doesn't always feel as coordinated as the right one does. And another thing, Dr. Brian has this testing machine that he does on you when you go there. And he was really surprised that I had more muscle overall, but I had lost some muscle in my lower extremities. So maybe that's why. But that's okay. I can jump, I can ride my bike, I can do a rowing machine, I can dance, I can do yoga and Tai Chi, and boy, oh boy, can I walk. I was in New York just 2 weeks ago, and one day me and my son walked 27,000 steps around Manhattan. That was 19 miles on my Apple Watch. So I say, thank you, God. I am whole, perfect, powerful, and strong. I am loving, harmonious, and happy. I am healthy, and I live in peace. And nobody can tell me anything else. Resistance can be strong. Resistance can actually cripple you. Resistance can make you doubt everything and stop you from moving forward in your life in all 5 life categories. But it doesn't have to. The only thing I can say is we have to be aware. We have to listen to our mind and listen to our heart, and always be mindful. Like, the 4 R's, just take a break. Who has conscious mind control? What am I feeling? What I know for sure is you can spend your life being in restriction and angst, or you can spend your life being in love, peace, and joy. I strive for peace, and I hope you will too. That's it for today's podcast. Remember, our mission here is to create a shift in the planet, and you can join us on the mission by simply like, share, and subscribe. The links are right below the show notes. As always, until next time, stay inspired.